It's so clubby in Montreal between the Liberal Party and the corporations. We saw that during the fiasco when SNC-Lavalin was being prosecuted for corruption. And by the way, they didn't deny it anymore. They had admitted it. They just wanted a plea deal, whereas Jody Wilson-Raybould was taking advice from the Public Prosecutions Directorate to go ahead with the trial. Trudeau intervened, and in the end, he fired Jody Wilson-Raybould because she wouldn't go easy on his crooked corporate buddies. No one is denying that SNC-Lavalin were breaking the law. What's so astonishing is that Trudeau was defending them anyways. And here we are a few years later, and it feels like the exact same thing. A preference to give billions of dollars to Quebec insiders instead of a more reasonable, less slush fundy alternative. And joining us now to talk about this murky company, Telesat, is our friend Andy Lee, who is very good at digging around. Andy, great to see you again.
Good to see you too. It's good to be back. Yeah, so Telesat, big news. We've been hearing a lot about, we're supposed to be getting high-speed internet to rural communities for a long time now. And so Telesat was one of those companies that was supposed to be providing this. And so we've been funding the company heavily. I didn't go all the way back, but in the last couple of years alone, in 2021, we had a grant that was given that actually is not really out there yet. It was for $600 million. So over $500 million was given to them in a grant. They had a grant in 2018 for $85 million. And then in 2021, we had the $1.44 billion that was given to them. And now we're looking at $2.54 billion. And that's on top of government contracts. And again, I haven't added them all up. I stopped at about $400 million for the last couple of years. So they're also getting regular income through federal contracts as well. And so what have we gotten for that? We got a promise that we were supposed to have a satellite, low orbit, internet by 2024. And where is it?
I tell you, I was adding up some of those numbers you said, the 600 million here, 1.4 billion there. I mean, you're into the billions of dollars. And I mean, I don't know enough about Telesat, but it seems to me that Elon Musk is the first and the best and the cheapest and Starlink. There's just no way a late to the game Canadian competitor is going to beat Starlink for quality, cheapness, and it's ready to go right now. I don't even understand. Are they basically trying to build a Canadian competitor to Starlink? Is that what's going on here, Andy?
Well, I think that was initially, judging by the press releases, that's what they were looking at to compete with, right? But obviously, they failed to do so, despite all this funding. So Starlink has kind of become the gold standard for satellite communications. So, at this point, we're throwing a lot of money at something trying to reinvent the wheel, and it's going to cost us. And the ironic thing is that, we don't even have our own launch capabilities for these satellites. Telesat actually inked a deal in September of last year with SpaceX to launch their own satellite systems. So I think they've secured 14 launches, and they can launch 18 satellites, I believe, per launch. So again, it's kind of like, what are we getting for value for our money? And it's sort of like, okay, well, we want to invest in Canadian companies, but at the same time, is it worth it for somebody who's already sort of laid this ground, right? What's the value for our money? And are we going to be getting better service? And are we going to be getting it for as good of a price, which is, it's considerable when you look at Elon Musk as saying, well, I'll do this for less than half. Yeah. And the company itself isn't worth that much, right? We're putting billions of dollars into it. I mean, its market cap, I think, is under $600 million. They're saying that, their sort of net worth maybe last year from their financials was about $1.2 billion. So maybe the companies might be worth, $2 billion. But we're sinking 2 or 3 times into that to make it feasible. And again, we haven't got a product yet. So it's like deliverology, right? Where's our satellite system?
Oh my gosh.
And why are we not holding these people to account when they're not meeting their deadlines, especially when we're talking about this amount of cash? And, obviously this the CEO has got some deep ties to, say, our brand new Trudeau appointed financial special economic advisor, Mark Carney. And it wasn't just that one meeting this year. Sorry, they were at a charity get together in 2024. I also went back and found them at another charity get together in 2023. And then before that, there was talk of Dan Goldberg, who's the CEO, was in for the London Marathon. He met up with Carney there, and there's a big blurb talking about their friendship and things like that, and how Carney, really reinforces Dan's company and things like that. So, it's kind of like we have such a productivity problem in Canada, bringing, things to market in a reasonable time. So, and, that was the big thing about Philippe Champagne was like, well, you're picking a foreign company. And of course you went, and a lot of people went and found the financials, and this isn't, Starlink's probably more Canadian than Telesat is, right? at least Starlink is owned by a Canadian citizen, whereas Telesat, we know, is mostly owned by United States, fund managers and things like that. I think that somebody pointed out it's like 0.69% Canadian owned, which is not how it was sold. We were told in the press releases that this is a Canadian controlled company. If we've got 0.69% of it, that's not a Canadian controlled company at all. It's very much an American company.
Yeah, it was sold. It was sold to a U.S. defense contractor a few years back. I really don't have a strong opinion about where it should be. If the idea is to get internet, buy it from the cheapest, best provider. The fact that Telesat has to piggyback onto SpaceX's rockets makes me chuckle, because even that is buttering Elon Musk's bread. But the denunciation of Musk as a foreign billionaire and the admission that this is just to slosh money around Montreal, now it makes sense. These photos with Mark Carney, I think you were telling me before, that Catherine McKenna, the disgraced former cabinet minister, was like, of course. And of course, there's commissions for everybody and law. What would the lobbyist get who arranged this deal? $100 million? I don't know. There's so much scamming that this is the arrive can of satellite internet. If you want to, I was telling the anecdote a minute ago, when I went to Maui for the wildfires, I brought a Starlink with me. I think it cost me $200 to rent it. It couldn't have been easier. Imagine, instead of saying, no, the government has a program, you have to, like no real person would prefer a government program if you're trying to get it done. But if you're trying to butter everyone's bread, of course you go the Trudeau way. I don't know. I feel this is just new levels of corruption to me, Andy. What do you think?
Yeah, they're always finding new ways to pay themselves creatively. And we're being told, well, it's okay. Part of it's a loan. And that is true. Part of it's a loan. And part of the 2021 one was a loan as well. That 1.44 billion, half of that was a loan. And, we get paid out at like 4.5%. But again, that money could be better spent, reinvested somewhere else. So let's not pretend like, we're getting good value for
and
money.
Are we sure we got the money back?
Exactly. And we've got generous loan forgiveness in our country, right? We're always writing this stuff up because we're saying, well, we need this. It's vital infrastructure or whatever. So, we'll just take, whatever you owe us, and we'll cross it off the balance sheet.